Alright, so been eyeballing the Spartan locker, lunchbox locker, whatever you want to call it. You know what this box is, you know what's in it. I've been eyeballing it for a long time. I finally found the best deal I could find on Amazon for it. Lowest price I've seen in a long time. So I purchased it. I was going to do an install video on this, but there's 1,001 install videos on this. It's a lot better production value than I could produce, and I was watching a video while I was videoing myself installing this. And so instead of me hashing over the same things, I'm just going to refer you... What the f***? Instead of me hashing over the same things, I'm just going to refer you to the two videos I watched. Cherokee Ronnie did a good one, and he's straightforward, talks, I won't say simple, but plain that I can understand him. Doesn't use fancy words. And I think the other one was Truck Guy Tony, so I'll put a link to it here and in the show notes. Very excellent videos. 100% on the pickle. But I will hash over some problems that I've had, or some advice, or some things that I had with it. First off, the instruction manual. Very heavy paper, printed very nicely, lots of pictures. Garbage. Didn't understand a word of it. It was like it was written in French or something. Don't even bother with the instructions. It might be that I read it at a third grade level, who knows. I don't care, but the instructions were worthless to me. That's why I went to the YouTube videos. And I will say, I fell victim to while you're in there. I went with the added knowledge that if it looks like I'm going to have to replace it within a year, I just went ahead and replaced it now. So if you got to take the brakes off, so if you need new brake pads, now it's time to put them on. Same thing with rotors. If rotors look questionable, change them. And the same thing with calipers and your brake lines, because they're all right there. All right, so now that you just spent $150, $200 or whatever you spend on brakes, I'm dirt cheap on brakes. I buy O'Reilly's lifetime warranty brake pads, and I just take them back. And so I've been 10 years now. I only bought one set of pads for my Jeep. My Ford Ranger I've had 27 years. I only bought one set of pads for those things. I guess they don't expect people to keep things as long as I do, or especially keep the receipts. But anyhow, so now you get the brakes out of the way, you got to take the axle shaft out. Hey, $10 for a U-joint right there. If you haven't replaced it in 2 years, if it looks good and you haven't replaced it, I go ahead and replace it. I went to the junkyard and I got a set of spare shafts. I don't know if you can see them, they're right there. Right here. I replaced the U-joints on those, and whenever I take the axle shaft out, I just slide in a new one ready to go, and I just replace those when I replace the U-joints on those when I have some time. Now you're down to the knuckle. Hey, 3 bolts on the back, and you can pull your wheel bearing out. If my wheel bearings were they were still the factory wheel bearings, 260,000 miles on those things, and they're still good. But I just went ahead and replaced them because they're on borrowed time. Yeah, they're good now, but I'm putting a locker in. I'm going to tackle it a lot harder now. So I want everything up to snuff. So went ahead and replaced the wheel bearings. So while you have the wheel bearing out, you only have 2 nuts to take off the knuckle. And then you have access to the ball joints. So why not replace the ball joints? My ball joints were 10 years old. I didn't go with Spicer. I can't remember what. I went with some off-brand. And yeah, three out of the 4 were, 2 were loosey-goosey and 1 was seized tight. So I needed ball joints. I didn't even know I needed ball joints, but I just went ahead and planned on replacing them. Now you're ready to take off the diff cover. Take off the diff cover, take the carrier out. Well, hey, carriers out. And now's the perfect time to get those inner seals on the axle. So now you're doing that. And hey, well, you got the carrier out in your hand. If you have a press, it's time to change the bearings on it. Even if you don't have a press, you can take it to a shop and change the bearings on it. I should have changed the bearings on mine. They really needed it. But I've already spent a crap load of money on this axle and a crap load of time. By the time I got to the wheel bearings, I just kind of gave up. Do yourself a favor and spend the extra money, collect the parts, and do it all. That's my advice. Take it or leave it. The install of the product went smooth. I will say, Cherokee Ronnie put his in and didn't have to cut the wires, the retaining wires you put in. You have to pull them out when you're done anyhow. I could not get this locker in there with the wires. I don't know how he finagled it in there. I had to cut them in half. Now is these pins have to line, this slot has to line up, and you can tell these are just a little too long. Maybe I've got it in backwards. I'm going to play with it some more, but I might have. I've heard of people having to trim the wires, and I think that's why they had to do it. I think truck guy Tony that I watched, he had to cut his in half. So be prepared. Just get some snips, cut the wire in half if you have to. No big deal. Like I said, it's just to slide it in. It's just to slide it in the carrier. When it's in the carrier, you pull the little wires out, and then everything expands, and easy peasy. While you have the diff cover off, you might as well put a hardened diff cover on it. I didn't think I needed it, but then look at these pictures. I had chunks taken out of my differential I didn't know anything about. So that iron rod cover, and the cover is going to take care of some of the beatings I give it to. I like to bulldoze rocks with my axle. Good. My thoughts on the Spartan locker. The first few miles I drove it, I heard click, 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 click. Boom, none of it now. The oil got through and lubricated everything. I did lightly grease everything. You can't see my hand motions. I did lightly grease everything up. I should have used assembly lube. I just used regular wheel bearing grease, just real light. I heard stories that gear lube and axle grease don't mix. So I just went very light with it, and I'm going to do a test on that someday. After a few trips around the block, I don't even hear it. Every once in a while, when I'm making a turn, I'll hear click, click. That's it. You know, no noise whatsoever. How's it perform on the trail? I drop my Jeep into four-wheel drive. I don't hear any click, click, click. Right away I notice the wheel's tight. You know, you try to turn it, you can feel it. It's not fighting you, but you can feel a little bit more tension on it than if you just had it in two-wheel drive and just cruising down the road. But then again, you really shouldn't be driving fast and trying to turn the wheel anyhow when you're in four-wheel drive locked. I guess that's how you snap things. You can feel them tires digging in. You give it the gas, and you can feel it. I didn't go over stuff that I wasn't able to go over without a locker, but I will say it walked over stuff a lot easier, a lot less skinny pedal. Big muddy hill I go up all the time. If you're familiar to Uwharrie, Dutch John, it's got this big narrow hill climb, kind of steep, but it's loose dirt and mud and stuff. To get through it easily, I have to give it a lot of skinny pedal. This time, I just lightly put it in gas, and you can feel them lockers just pulling me up it. It was. I wish I would have done this years ago. Spartan locker, easy to install. If I did it, a monkey with a wrench can do it. Matter of fact, I am a monkey with a wrench. Not this. If you wheel your Jeep hard and you got some worn out stuff, or if you don't know if it's questionable, save the money and do it. I usually try to stay out of the differential because it's scary in there and the oil smells bad. My advice is get the Spartan locker. There's no shims to worry about on it. You just pull it out, slap it in, put it back in. Replace the seals and anything else that you could afford that's questionable. Wheel bearings are kind of easy to put in. Same thing with U-joints. U-joints are cheap. You should replace those anyhow. If anything, replace the ball joints if you're not sure. And like I said, you have the knuckle right there. Take the knuckle off and really get a good physical feel for them. Because my ball joints felt good. And then when you took them off, I could rattle one, and one was C's, and it's, you know, plan on, if you don't know what condition your ball joints are on, replace them. I'm going to put a video up here for the ball joints and a video for the axle seals. All right, so thanks for watching. Got something to say, leave a comment down below. Something I missed, something to add. You know, feel free. If you like what you see, hit the thumbs up button. It really helps us out a lot. Us meaning us YouTubers. Don't like what you see, hit the thumbs down. I'm all for the honesty. Got some time to kill? Check out my podcast, the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast. I'll put a card here. I figured out how to do that. I watched a YouTube video on how to create YouTube videos. It was very helpful. So check out my podcast, 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast. It's a podcast for the off-roader with a short attention span, like me. If I didn't make this podcast, I would love to listen to this podcast because it's something I could do while I'm sitting on the toilet. I got some more time to kill. Check out one of my videos here. It's I don't know which one it's going to be. I'll leave it up to YouTube to decide which one you should watch or would want to watch. I got some more time to kill. Check out this one below. All right. I guess that's about it. Thanks for watching. All I want to do is stop the video.